E360 TV proudly presents messages of inspirational stories. Live streaming now to millions of devices, including Roku, Apple TV, Amazon Fire TV, Android TV, YouTube Live, Facebook Live, with your host, Donna, producer and host, Jim Grant, producer and host, along with Michaela Vidal, administrator and host, and Gaia Ginwa Balconi Wada, editor-in-chief.
Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to Thursday's show, Messages of Inspirational Stories. This week, we are talking about healing traumatized hearts. Jim, how are you today?
I am proud to be here, ladies and gentlemen, because today's been one of those days. I think we could call this Turbulent Thursday, but that would be a bit for me because I've been pushing a chain uphill, and Donna was worried I wouldn't get in the studio on time, and I forgot to put my earpieces in correctly. My hearing aids, got to act my age here, but it's such a wonderful privilege for us to be able to do this show and to be here. The information we share with you, my goodness, we learn things too, because Donna, I did not realize until I was reading the story about Mariah Carey, how she, it was frightening for her to break away. Mm-hmm. And, and a lot of people are in that situation where,
Absolutely.
They just don't see how they can make it.
Right. It's an unknown force, right?
Yeah.
So right here where your abuser has captured all those emotions,
mm-hmm.
And then you to break away, it's an unknown, so it makes us uncomfortable.
Yes, it's kind of like in a well, let's be honest, it's a negative situation, but it's your support system.
Right.
You become I don't want to use the word institutionalized, but enslaved is better. Yeah. You come used to it. That's normal for you. So going outside the norm, it's a bit scary. And
it is.
But the main thing for this entire week, Donna, is for us to encourage people to step out and get help.
Absolutely.
That's the starting point. We just encourage you to call somebody, get in touch with somebody. For example, the lady we work with, she'll be with us tomorrow with Healing Acres Never Again, Charlene Fouts, and we have that is the sponsor that we have the charity, I should say. I'm trying to look for it too and talk.
I'll find it.
Yeah. And for me, that's like pushing a chain uphill, trying to look for something and talk to and sound intelligent. Talking and sound intelligence is already a challenge for me. So, but Healing Acres Never Again, that was an organization that was created because Charlene was abused as a child, incest from her father. She went through a lot of turbulent times.
Abusive marriage.
Yes. And, it's just, but she was able to overcome that. She has a beautiful smile. She has a light in her eyes. And first time I heard her story, I go like, my goodness,
right?
This girl, when it comes to being a survivor, she killed it. I mean, not, she maxed it out, didn't she, Donna?
She did. And her heart is every bit is bigger than her smile.
Yeah, it really is. But I want to talk about some of the favorite things that I like, Got to wipe my mouth here. I'm already starting to drool thinking about a couple of them.
Okay, you take it away.
Okay. Let's talk about National Son and Daughter Day. This is a wonderful time for parents to reconnect, in even the smallest of ways with your sons, your daughters, and, let them know that you love them, number one, because it's so special for uh, national for our sons and daughters. Say this is a National Son and Daughter Day timeline, and I just want to let you know I'm thinking about you and I love you and all that. And just it doesn't have to be a big long thing, but just let them know
Right?
that you care enough. You're thinking about them. In 1915, we're sure that it was soon after the first official Father's Day and Mother's Day in 1910 and 1914, respectively, that boys and girls got an idea of their own. In 1936, Dusenberry does it reputedly, although, as noted above, research sources, I should say, at St. Joseph, Missouri, resident J. Henry Dusenberry got the wheels going, turning for sons and daughters to have their day. And in 2017, Parallel, let me let me get a drink of tea here. Parallel National Sun, whatever that word is, National running together. National Son and Daughter Day with this hard-earned wisdom that all parental relationships are important and healthy in the development of children. And that is some of the most truest words on planet Earth, because that leads us right into whenever you're in an abusive relationships and your children see that going on, it's not only harming you, but it's also warping the mind of children.
It damages our children so much.
It does.
And I have to say, and I'm not going to go into huge detail because that would not be appropriate.
Mm-hmm.
But there was a time in my life when I stepped out of a relationship because I did not want my children to think that was proper.
Yeah.
That's how it was supposed to be as adults, as partners, etc. So think about that, folks.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. Well, I want to go on to one of the yummy ones for National Today.
Okay.
And today is National Raspberry Bombay Day.
Ooh, that sounds good. I can't even pronounce it or spell it, but it sure sounds good.
It's a frozen treat that's is a layered bonanza of heavy cream, sugar, and raspberries, and various other ingredients. So the history of it is it's been around for really a long time. Its roots is a French cuisine, and there's been incorporations made, of course, over the year, but made from ice cream and sponge cake, now with heavy cream, nuts, many other ingredients. And the reason they call it a Bombay is because this ice cream dessert was frozen in a my turn to mess up words, spherical mold, which then resembled a cannonball, hence the name. Okay, so this is initial version was refined by famous French chef Auguste Escoffier. If I said that right, probably didn't. That his vision was behind the simple and most elegant Bombay we have seen today. So that's kind of cool. And if you like raspberries, that's the dessert for you.
Donna, I'm looking at this here, and because I was running late, I didn't get a chance to look at it in detail. But also today is National Bake Well Tart Day. So I'm gathering if you're going to bake a tart, make sure you bake it well, right? But really, I love all kinds of desserts. I really do. It's my mother and my aunt's fault. They were just fantastic at those things.
Right?
And it started back in the early 1800s. It says here in the history of the Bakewell pudding, Mrs. Greaves, the landlady of the White Horse Inn, serves the first Bakewell pudding. And the Bakewell pudding appears in Eliza Action's cookbook, Modern Cookery for Private Families. That was in 1845. That's kind of odd for her to, name her cookbook, Modern Cookery for Private Families. Okay.
Right.
I thought, wow, am I reading that right? And then in 1900, evolution to Bakewell tart, bakers started to modernize the Bakewell pudding into a tart by replacing the egg custard with frangipane. Does that sound Frangipane? I never heard of that. Have you?
No.
Okay, we have now. That's the good news. And August the 11th, back in 2020, just 2 years ago, the first National Bakewell Tart Day was established as a holiday in England. And some of the English desserts that they have, oh my goodness. One of the things that I like about some of the English desserts, and I'm trying to think of one off the top of my head, is that they're not as sugary. They're not as sweet, but they are good. Oh my
Right.
goodness. Mm.
I I just like dessert, to be honest with you.
Mhm.
It's so good.
Oh yeah. I mean, Donna's such a fine Christian lady. If you put dessert in front of her, she'll eat it out of respect.
That's a fact. That
Yeah.
is a fact. I will
Mhm.
eat it.
Yeah.
Oh, goodness. Well, Jim, we've had a really fascinating week so far. Um,
Yes, we have.
we've
Yes, we
learned a
have.
lot of things, you and I,
Hmm. Oh yeah.
about, you know, healing our traumatized heart
Mm.
and the, the abuse, the staggering amount of abuse that
Yeah.
people go through, and um, how difficult it is,
Yeah.
right?
Because the thing, I mean, I knew it, but I kind of forgot about it because living my life, I mean, I live a simple life. I do, you know, boring life really, which is a good thing, you know. But I had kind of forgotten about how horrible and how enslaved people who suffer from abusive relationships, how they live in fear and doubt.
Hmm.
And, as social creatures, Donna, we talk a lot, we mention a lot on the air about Bill Heinrich's book. Our show is brought to you by The 7 Levels of Truth by Mr. Bill Heinrich. It's on Amazon. But Bill says it best. There's only two emotions on planet Earth. There's love and there's fear. And fear we understand. But love and abundance, that's who we were created to enjoy.
Right.
And I tell you, Donna, I don't care how much love a person gets, you never can get enough of it, can you?
Nope. Absolutely not. And again, I want to mention that fear is also hate, right?
Oh yeah.
Okay. And those two cannot coexist in the same space.
Mm-mm.
They can't.
Yeah.
So one will override the other. And it's
Hmm.
our choice to decide which one.
Hmm. Yeah, because love's not going to hang around where it's not wanted.
Right.
And
Right.
fear and hate and all of the evil things of this life, all of them collectively, individually, and collectively together, they hate love
Hmm.
because love is all about forgiving. Love is all about, being whole and complete. And
Even
I've,
through our imperfections.
oh yeah, oh yeah. In the big scene, I mean, this was very evident to me that I knew in my hour of need when that spirit or angel, whatever you want to call it, I don't know, but whatever came over me, I knew that everything in this life, as far as my faults, my shortcomings, my sins, my stupid things that I did, all that was just gone. It didn't
Right.
matter. It's not even anywhere on the radar there. I mean, you're just inhaling, to describe it physically, it's kind of like inhaling oxygen. You're inhaling love.
Right.
And that's what we should try to do every day of our life on this earth. We should not only, if we breathe in love, we can exhale love, can't we, Donna?
Right. We can.
Yeah.
We
Mhm.
can. And and that's hard because when you're suffering in abuse, and you take that step to be free of it,
Mhm.
you're free from walking on eggshells, and you're feeling anxious in your own home and spending night after night worrying about what you should do.
Mm.
And then your life is your own. And when you've been in an abusive relationship, whatever kind of abuse it is, another part of you may start to uh, feel even the bigger parts, like the devastation that all your hopes and dreams about this relationship has been crumbled and turned to dust.
Mm-hmm.
And that in itself can be crippling.
Mm.
But nothing is ever going to change with this person. And that's what you have to realize,
Mm-hmm.
right? That your psyche, your self-esteem, your sense of ownership and power within yourself, which is love. Um, they were shattered by this person who you trusted and was supposed to love you and cherish you
Mm-hmm.
most.
Yeah.
So beating yourself up over how you could fall for this manipulator in the first place, or
Mm-hmm.
how you could have stayed in it for so long, that's just going down backwards. That's just
Mm-hmm.
going down that rabbit hole all over again.
Yes, it is. And Donna, I'd like for us to talk about something that I read. And ladies and gentlemen, we haven't even, Donna don't even know what I'm going to say. And I don't either. So that kind of balances the scale here. But I was reading, I've always been taught about how you should love and forgive others, whether they asked you or not. And that coincides with everything that we know and we believe in. But there was one psychiatrist or psychologist, I don't remember which, what the title was now, but says, you don't have to forgive others that's hurt you. You really don't. And I'm going like, I can't subscribe to that because you're holding on to something negative. To be fully free, in my opinion, and I'm not a psychologist or anything like that. I'm not a subject matter expert. This is my personal feeling. You got to be able to let all that negative stuff go. And I know, Donna, that you and I have talked a lot about along things along that line, and it kind of surprised me to hear this specialized person would tell someone, "You don't have to forgive that person for harming you." And I'm going like, I can't go along with that. What's your feeling on that?
I would have to agree, because when we can just forgive the other person and let it go, which
Mhm.
I'm not saying is easy, it's
No.
definitely difficult. I've been there and I've done that, unfortunately, more than once. But when we hang on to it, you are still being trapped in that sphere of being a
Mhm.
victim, because you haven't forgiven that person. And that little, and it may only be this much, right?
Mhm.
But that much can feed and grow and not let us go forward 100%. And in the healing is in my opinion, as well as yours, Jim, is in forgiving.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
And it doesn't mean you have to forget. Now, therein lies the
Mm-mm.
difference.
Mm-mm. No.
Forgiving and forgetting are two different things. You never want to go
Yeah.
back for seconds of a bad
Let's
thing.
let's talk on that. I'm glad you said that because a lot of people says I wish I could, I could forgive and I wish could forget. And when Donna said that, it just kind of like ring in my mind that be thankful that you can forgive and not be able to forget, because I personally feel that shows your inner strength.
Absolutely.
And that is a tremendous asset for you.
Hmm.
When the winds of adversity blow against you, you will have a strong anchor in your life. And that's what you're needing right now. Because right now you feel like a rag doll in the mouth of a dog, if I could put it in my country English terms.
Right.
You just feel like you've been, shook to and fro. And we've all been there with different things where we've just
Absolutely.
been felt like we're just being torn up and just shook. And you go like I was talking to a good friend of mine this morning, as a matter of fact. I was on the phone going down the road, and the individual said, I just felt like giving up yesterday. because I just had it with all this nonsense that I'm having to put up with. It was involved in a court case and the line attorneys and all that. And I know a little bit about the story. And, you know, I tell you, I don't have much respect for people who rip people apart, even though it may be their job. But I mean, it's a moral issue, and I know that's a
Right,
whole different story.
right.
But she says, I felt like just quitting and giving up, and then the inner strength kicked in. And Donna, I know Donna's got some that same kind of inner strength. In fact, she can loan some to you if you a little bit if your bucket's dry, because you got to have that inner strength to make a stand in what you believe in. You know deep down inside what's right and what's wrong.
Right.
Don't put up with the muck and the mire and the trash of life from some of these people. My goodness. And you know, Donna, you were talking about some of the stages of healing, and you came across some great information there. And it's so important, isn't it?
It is. It is. And before we get into that, I just want to read this because
Okay.
this is, I feel, so appropriate in when you can forgive somebody
Mm,
and then get on with your life.
mm,
Because that forgiveness, like Jim said, is your strength inside. So let me just read this real quick. That you are strong enough that you are no longer afraid to be gentle, powerful enough that you can be vulnerable, scarred enough that you can understand and tread lightly around the deepest scars of others.
mm, mm, mm. Yes. You know what scars really are? They are your credentials.
Right?
It says, I made it. I'm a survivor. I
Mhm.
may have walked through some of the most difficult situations that anyone could face in my life. And I've got scars to prove it. But these are my credentials.
Right.
Oh, I love that.
Right.
That's what gives you strength, you know.
Well,
Oh,
when we look at scars, so
mm,
many times, in whether they're internal or external, I think, Jim, that we look at it like, oh my God, look at this scar I have.
oh
I have
yeah, oh
scars
yeah.
everywhere.
Hmm.
I have a friend of mine who doesn't like her stretch marks on her tummy from her
Hmm.
babies. And I said, honey, those are your tiger stripes.
Oh,
You deserve those. Those are wear those
mm,
with honor because
mm,
you brought babies, precious
mm,
babies into this
mm,
world.
mm, mm, mm. I like that. I was in the hospital recovering. It was on Friday night before I checked out on before they released me. I didn't say check out, but released me on Sunday. You know, and I saw I was flipping through the channels. You know, I'm starting to feel like a guy now. You know, and I never saw this show before, but this show was about two tattoo artists, and what they did, they took it on themselves just as a freebie, just as a mission, just to help people. People that had birth defects or people that had scars, they would volunteer, you know, their time, their materials, and everything, and they would turn a scar into a beautiful pattern on the person, you know. And I thought, wow, that's really neat. So I looked down, you know, I couldn't see my chest, I had the bandage on there, but I knew I had an 8 inch, you know, zipper, they call it. And I thought, you know, maybe I could get something like that, you know. And I thought, no, 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 because every time I look at that, it's going to remind me of how I felt in that day
Hmm.
when I felt all that love rush to me and says, you're okay. We got you.
Right.
That's too precious of a memory. And then with my warped sense of humor, I was teasing my wife, and she didn't really appreciate my sense of humor. I was just teasing. I was telling her about the story about the guys going in. I thought maybe on my scar I could have, you know, like one of those center poles of one of the girls, you know. It was a joke. Well, I almost had to walk home, you know. I tell
Imagine
you,
that.
Yeah, that's enough. I mean, and I was just joking, but what can you say? If I live to be 300, I'll never get smart.
Well, Jim, one of the things that I think people feel when they're getting out of any kind of an abused relationship
Oh, yeah.
is they feel like they are numb
Oh, yeah.
and that they're hopeless. And, the thing about that is, I think we've pretty much all been there for whatever reason, where
Hmm.
you just almost feel completely numb inside. And I believe that is our mind and body in our protection mode,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah.
So giving us time to cope with what is now, what
Hmm.
is happening,
Yeah.
and that, be okay with the fact if you can't muster any emotion and that you feel like you're just an observer in
Mm.
life and not a participant. And
Yeah.
that's okay.
Hmm. It really is. And don't beat yourself up. Uh, there's a lot of people come back from war and they're shell shocked. And I'll tell you one thing about soldiers, and I experienced this personally, not so much as other soldiers did. Let me make that clear. But when you go back home after you've been gone a year or two or three or whatever, and your mind goes into a freeze frame in the way home was. And then you go home and this has changed, they've moved, da da da
Yes.
da.
Life
And
changed around you.
yeah. And then you realize, hey, life didn't wait on me.
Right.
I thought I was somebody. But my point being, when you come home and whether you're dealing with PTSD or whether you're dealing with physical abuse, and you go back to a safe place, maybe home or wherever it might be, please expect the unexpected.
Hmm.
There's going to be changes going on. Life continues to evolve all the way around you every single day.
Right. Even though maybe at the time you feel like you've lost some of your identity,
Yeah.
right? Because you knew who you were before
Hmm.
you got involved with your abuser. Okay.
Hmm.
Maybe you were that strong, happy, capable person.
Yeah.
And now you look in the mirror and you don't even recognize the person who's looking back at
Oh,
you.
yeah.
But understanding that the years of emotional abuse, that is what your abuser has stripped away from your self
Yes.
concept, your sense of
Yes.
self, right? And that you feel like you're unattractive as a person,
Hmm.
um, because your partner defined you with their
Mm.
ugly words or insults.
Hmm.
But that's
Yeah,
not
that's
who you are. That's them.
exactly. And that comes from a small-minded person because the only way they can feel good about themselves is by putting others down.
Hmm.
And that's about as weak and as cheap and as sorry as you can get as an individual. Because, I think I've mentioned several times on the show, I'm going to mention it again. Joe South's number one hit in 1969, Walk a Mile in My Shoes, before you criticize and accuse. And you think about people from all walks of life that you've known, and you formed an opinion on them based on something a little bit that you knew. And then later on, you find out the Paul Harvey side of the story of what they went through. And you
Right.
go like, holy enchiladas. I'm sure glad I didn't voice my opinion because
Right.
I had no idea what those poor folks were facing or going through.
Right.
And even today, where I was at earlier today with my friend, I did not know. And I was helping do some things, and we were going over some things, and we did a couple of legal things there. And I asked him, um, I asked him about his son. He said, Jim, he got killed in 2009 on a
Oh,
motorcycle accident. I'm like, oh, man. Me and my big mouth. I mean, it just really hit me hard.
right.
And he had to stop talking for a little bit, understandably so, because it's his
Hmm.
son. And it just I didn't mean to upset him or anything like that. but I said to myself, why did you even ask such a stupid question? And but sometimes we do. And I told him, I says, man, I'm so sorry I even mentioned. He said, that's okay. And I'd met his son probably about a year or two before he died. Very nice young guy. And so you can, like I say, if we always respect someone, walk a mile in their shoes,
Hmm.
and because when I do things like that, it bothers me.
Right.
And be thankful that it does bother you, because what kind of a person would you be if you could say something, even though it wasn't hurtful, but it brought up a hurtful memory?
Right. Right.
If you did something like that and it didn't bother you, that's when there's something wrong with you, big
Right.
time.
Well, and one of the other things that happens when you get out of an abusive relationship, and I know this happened with me, um, but you lose your trust in and you fear falling in love again.
Yeah, yeah.
That's a big one. And I know I had huge
Hmm.
trust issues after my first husband and I divorced. And my walls um, made the wall of China look pretty fragile. I just, they
Yeah.
were huge. It took a lot to get through it, and then even though the walls were still up, I dated a gentleman in Ohio, and I broke up with him because I found out the whole time I was dating him that A, he was cheating on me. B, he had an assault against one of his ex-wives.
Ooh, yeah.
And C, he told me when we started dating that he was divorced and he wasn't. He just wasn't
Hmm.
even honest about it. They'd been separated, but he
Hmm.
wasn't honest about it.
Yeah. That's one thing about, folks, and this goes both ways there as far as male and female. So many people don't have the courage to be honest.
Right?
And I knew a guy, uh, him and his wife, they separated and all that. And he met another lady, and she told me, she says, I asked him because she knew I knew him. She says, she asked me first, is he married? And I says, well, I know he's married and I know he's separated. She says, well, good, because that reinforces what he told me. Um, he says, I am married. He says, but I cannot live with my wife because either she can't stand me or I can't stand her.
Right.
but,
Right.
but you'd have to know the guy to appreciate that. But the fact of it was, at least she knew out of the gate what she's dealing with.
Right.
That gives her the opportunity to determine how much of this person do I want in my life? What's
Hmm.
the risk here?
Right.
And but when you're flat lied to, oh, it's like my dad used to tell me growing up. He says, son, remember one thing: you can never do business with a liar
Right.
because you can never trust them,
Right. And
and
so,
that's true.
it's important on your emotional journey to getting yourself back that you choose when you're strong enough
Hmm. Right.
to want to get back out into that world, if you will,
Hmm.
But understand that part of that journey is the questions to ask, and the tells now when
Hmm.
someone's lying to you,
Oh yeah.
right? And so it's
Yeah.
very, very important to understand that and be
Hmm.
looking for it so you don't get back into that same kind of a relationship.
Yes.
And
Yes. That is
right,
so true.
and the next time around that you pick a partner who is absolutely what you're looking for, who's
Hmm.
honest and forthright
Yeah.
and is not going to lie and not going to
Hmm.
cheat and not be
Hmm.
abusive,
Yeah.
right? That you're straight up with that.
Yeah. And it's okay to be picky too.
Oh, yeah.
It really is. I mean, because
Picky
You owe it to
word.
yourself. Yeah. Because uh, if any person in a relationship is worth having, they'll wait for you.
Hmm.
They will respect what you're comfortable with, what you're not comfortable with, you know. And if they want you to do things that you're not comfortable with, that's a red flag. That is not the right person for you. Because if they don't respect you now, they're not going to respect you later.
Right,
It's
right.
just that's just the way the world turns. And I was looking at some of the survivors of abuse. There's been a bunch of them. I mean,
Oh, yeah.
so many stories, and the ones that we don't hear much about, are the individual people, just regular folks like me and you. And Donna, we covered the life story on a previous show about Maya Angelou.
Hmm.
And the thing that I really like about her, and the thing that really made an impression on me based on her life, the things she went through, she wrote a book. And the title of that book, I don't know if you remember it or not, but that she says, I know why the caged bird sings.
Right.
And you think about that, like, we've had canaries in our house, and, they're caged and they sing, and we, give them lettuce and apple and, what they need and all that. And, but really, birds were never made to live in a cage.
Right.
And that title for that book really means a lot to me. She understood why.
It really does. And the fact that there are people from every walk of life, Chan,
Mhm.
regular, everyday people,
Mhm.
your next door neighbor, maybe, your church peers, uh, uh, up to movie stars, multi millionaire,
Mm.
conglomerate people who have been in abusive situations. So this is a story that is about Charlize Theron, and she was raised in South Africa. And of course, we know she's a really famous movie star and very, very good. Well, she lived with an abusive alcoholic father who threatened to kill her and her mother on several occasions.
Mm.
And in self defense, Charlize's mother shot and killed her father when she was only 15 years old.
Oh.
And the actress has stayed relatively silent about the incident, but has taken an active advocate for other abusers.
Mm.
She's even opened a pair of rape crisis centers in her native country to help
Mm.
women going through similar abuse,
Wow.
right?
That's one of the things that I admire about people who have earned their credentials. They want to share the good news with you and others who are going through the same things to say, I survived this. You can too. And that is one of the greatest callings in life that people can have. Because speaking of Maya Angelou, it's so one of the worst things that anybody can do to a child is rape them, in my opinion. And I mean, she was raped as a child. My
Hmm.
goodness. What kind of a warped mind would do something like that? I mean,
Right.
I mean, I just it's let me just leave it right there because I just,
Well, Jim,
I'd just say that's why God made ball bats.
well, I'd also like to say that the domestic violence hotline is
Dixie.
1-800
Mm,
799 7233.
mm.
1-800 799 7233. And know, people, that there are numerous resources in your own area.
Would you repeat that number one more time? I'm gonna make a ticker tape here for it. 800.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Um, as soon as I find it again. Okay. Give me a second because I have absolutely lost it.
I know what you mean. You can tell our show's not pre-rehearsed. We wouldn't want it
Right?
any other way because this is who we are. We slur words. I have a degree in mispronouncing words. I've proven that and got that degree because they said you got to prove you do that all the time. And so
Okay.
I got 800-799, but the last four digits I did not recall.
I'm still trying to find it.
Well, that's okay. That's all right.
I'll get it in a
While,
second.
while you're doing that, I want to go ahead and talk about another person, that really suffered from abuse, and that is the singer Jewel.
Right.
Jewel was the victim of occasional mental and physical abuse from her father. And as parents, especially little girls, their first love, I believe, is their father. You know, they look up to their dad, and to physically or mentally abuse them, especially mental abuse, my goodness, that is just it's. I mean, how can a dad be that mean and cruel to their child? Because growing up, the child's looking to you for guidance and for love and
Hmm.
for encouragement. Because think about when kids are small, they don't take defeat seriously. They don't, they just, they laugh, they enjoy life, they love life. And if they fall down, they don't even think about it. But yet, when we get bigger, we fall down or we run into situations that, you know, that hurts us. It
Right.
really kind of derails us, doesn't it?
It does.
Mhm.
Okay. I have the last four.
Okay.
7233.
7233. That's
Right.
800-799-7233.
Mm-hmm.
And that is the national hotline for abuse,
Yep. The domestic violence hotline.
violence hotline.
We want to make sure, folks, that you're safe and give you, tools in which to help you get there
Oh,
because you
yeah.
are worth it.
Hmm.
You
Oh,
are
yeah.
absolutely worth it. Nobody should be going through any of that.
Mhm.
That is not why we were created.
Mm-mm. Not at all. Not at all. We were watching, we got was one little squirrel out here that we have these bird feeders that, they're circular. And of course, you got the rim all the way around for the birds to land, eat the bird seed. We feed them the black sunflower seed because everything likes that and it all gets eaten up. But there's this one little squirrel that me and Ellen get a kick out of. We watch him in the morning and he'll climb up there. And for some reason, he likes that. He'll go up there, get the sunflower seed, then lay down and hang on by his rear feet and upside down and eat it. And this morning, he was hanging with one foot.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah. And it's the little things like that we really appreciate in life, the simple things. So if you're living in a kind of like inside of a pressure cooker, you owe it to yourself to say, I'm going to open this lid. I'm going to break the seal here. I'm going to let that relief valve let all this pressure out. I'm going to find help. And that's the thing we want you to do, is don't be afraid because that little squirrel ain't afraid to hang upside down on one foot and eat sunflower seeds. It's amazing to me. You shouldn't be afraid to take that first step.
Right.
You really shouldn't. And it may be frightening, but get in touch with somebody. You can call the domestic violence hotline there. You can get in touch with someone local. But there are people out there who have enough compassion in their heart and they want to help you in your hour of need. So reach out and grab it. It's there.
People who've been there.
Amen.
And there's so much out there, so many resources to help us, right? There's
Mhm.
resources to get your counseling, to get first and foremost to get you to safety.
Mhm.
That's always going to be the first one, to get you to safety, somewhere where no one can find you, and then to get your counseling. And
Mhm.
the resources that are out there will help you rebuild your life.
Oh, yeah. They certainly will. They certainly will. And some of the people, this one here kind of shocked me. Eleanor Roosevelt. in doing our research. She was Franklin Delano Roosevelt's wife, the First Lady of the United States. She was the victim of child abuse,
I
but she
did know
never
that.
spoke of it publicly. So we really don't know the details of what type of child abuse she received because she refused to talk about it openly. But the fact of it is, look at what she did. She rose above that. And no matter what kind of abuse that you're experiencing right now, just say, I'm gonna love that person enough. Let's turn it around. I love myself enough to where I'm gonna forgive that person because I'm a much bigger person on the inside than that individual will ever be. And
because
that's the truth.
you deserve the freedom and
Hmm.
love in a good new life.
Oh yeah. And you know, one of the things that a lot of people do, they blame themselves, think it's their fault.
Hmm.
And nothing could be truer, especially if the abuser's saying, "You're no good.
Right.
I don't know why I put up with you." And I imagine all these other negative things they can say. Because if you accept that as gospel, you're going along with the brainwashing.
Yeah.
Because that's what it is, it's brainwashing.
Hmm. Certainly is.
Mhm.
And you deserve so much more,
Mhm.
right? I promise that when you started out your life, think back about it. Um, we don't we don't start our life as a young adult on the tail end of high school thinking I want to have an abusive relationship, right? We've got the world by the tail and we're on fire. We
Mhm.
want that love and abundance
Oh, yeah.
in our life, and
That's why
so
you were created.
absolutely. And just
Yeah.
even if that situations happen, it's okay. It's time to break free. And the resources we have available again are huge. I mean, there's resources out there that will help you not just get you to safety, but help
Mhm.
you with the counseling, help you
Mhm.
get a place to live, help you refurbish your home,
Mhm.
help you get a
Yeah.
job,
Yeah.
right? And
Yeah.
all the while helping you get through that horrible time
Mhm.
and undo the damage that was done by the abuser in your life.
Mm. Let's talk about a few things that a person that truly loves you would demonstrate. Not say, but demonstrate. Because we know action speaks louder than words. People who love you, they don't try to control your every thought or action.
Right?
They trust you. People who love you don't try to make you think you're crazy.
Right.
And people who love you, they don't do the hurtful things, to you on a daily basis or at any time, really.
Yeah. People who
Uh,
love you show you love.
yeah. And, I love that one Bible verse. I don't know what book it's in or whatever, but love covers a multitude of sins.
Right.
How does that sound to you when you hear that? That no matter what you've done in your life, love covers everything. Oh my goodness gracious. We
Hmm.
are social creatures. We can't live without love. Love is important to our sanity as much as oxygen is to our physical bodies.
Right.
And just think about that. My goodness, that love will cover a multitude of sins. That's at the spiritual level. In everyday life, true love between people forgives and overlooks and doesn't bring up the past of shortcomings, faults, and
Why'd
why
you
did
do
you do
this?
that?
Why'd you do this? Why
Yeah,
did we do that? You know,
exactly. When did that seem like a good idea to you?
right, right.
I've heard that
But
before, not from
but
my wife, my
it
dad.
true love, a good love, and a good relationship that's
Hmm.
honest and nurturing
Yeah.
and caring will do just those things.
Hmm. Oh yeah. Oh, yeah.
right? And there's no blame. Like I usually get up very, very early in the morning. And this morning I slept in till 6 o'clock, which is very unusual for me,
Oh, yeah.
right? And I woke up with coffee at the bedside because my husband would leave a cup of coffee beside me. And I woke up and I went to the coffee pot because my coffee was a little cold, so I needed some hot coffee. And there was a beautiful note that said, "I'm so glad that you slept in this morning, baby. Although I missed having coffee with you, I hope you have
Mm,
a beautiful day." That's
mm.
love.
It sounds like something that you would do.
Hmm.
You can't put him in front of a camera, but I can tell you right now, you can't. That's just not
No,
his calling.
no,
Yeah. I mean, he'd rather face a firing squad than a camera.
pretty much,
Yeah.
pretty much, or speaking in public.
Oh, yeah. That's another,
Yeah.
that's another train. We're not going down that track either. Get that? No. And does Edge ever laugh at some of the things that I say and do here when I get my tongue
Oh,
wrapped around my
absolutely.
get my tongue
Absolutely.
wrapped around my eye tooth and I can't see what to say. I couldn't even hardly say
Right.
it. But
Oh,
that's just like when we make a mistake or something, we laugh about it. We joke about it because everybody makes mistakes. And everybody has that. Words that you normally can pronounce. There's going to be times when the word is here, it should be rolling off the tongue, and there's just a disconnect there. I don't know if
right.
it's not enough coffee or whatever. But the point of it is that when be sure and don't beat yourself up in the process. Don't punish yourself if for whatever's going on in your life. It's not your fault. And
Right.
that may not be a good analogy to use as far as speakers. I've known people who have spoken on stage and they get tongue tied on something and they can't say something, and they get mad and frustrated with themselves afterwards.
Hmm.
Like, well, what's wrong? So what? Everybody out there knows that everybody mispronounces words. The secret to it is like I tell people, you got to do it right the first time. That's the that's the toughie. Rest of
Right.
us downhill.
Right. Yeah.
But we're going to be back. We got to be back tomorrow on Friday because I see our time. I see the sands running through the.
Yes, we are just about out of time,
Mhm.
but we want you to get the help you need. And
Yes,
if you know
please.
somebody who may be in
Hmm.
this situation,
Yes.
please, please, please share our show with them so that they have some direction, maybe,
Hmm.
and have that boost of energy to get the help they need
Yeah.
and so richly deserve in their life.
Yeah. We're reworking our website, but the good news of it is there's several places you can find our shows on replay as soon as I find it here. Um, One, of course, is our website. And all you got to do is just remember our TV show.live, Live, our TV show.live, and that'll redirect to our website. We're working on it, but all of our shows are picked up there by the next day on the blog. And, or if you
Yes.
want to watch us on YouTube, you can just go to YouTube and just search for Messages of Inspirational Stories TV show. And if you ever run into a situation where you'd like to more on a show or want to share it with someone, you can't find it, just email us here at inspirationd360tv.com. A member of our staff will get that information as it comes into our center, and we'll make sure that someone responds to you in an expedient way and help you.
Absolutely.
Mhm.
Or if there's something that you think that would be of interest for us to talk about,
Yeah. To
please
cover.
email us.
Yeah.
If you think there's something out there that we have not yet covered
Oh, yeah.
and you
Oh,
think it'd
yeah.
be a great idea for
Mhm.
us to do our show about,
Mhm.
please absolutely email
Yeah.
us at inspiration@e360tv.com.
Yes, because we love to tell third-party stories about people, like we talked a little bit about Jewel and a little bit about, uh, you know, Roosevelt there, Eleanor Roosevelt. I changed her name, but important thing is that we love to share information because that inspires you in your hour of need, and that's what we're here for.
Absolutely.
And that's it.
But Jim, we are flat out of time.
Yes, ma'am, we are. Folks, we've really enjoyed it, and our main goal here is to make sure that uh, you might know of someone who's in a situation who could use some of this information. Not so much what we say, but the information we share on the
Mhm.
TV show. Because we are an infotainment show. Donna provides the info, and I provide the tainment.
Not always.
I can make her snort, though.
That's true. You can.
The other day, I got 5 snorts out on one joke. That must have been, well, I can't remember what I said. Anyway, no, we're out of time. Listen, please, please, please remember, you're very, very special. No
Absolutely.
one, no one has the thumbprint, has your thumbprint. No one was created exactly like you. You're that special. I don't care what color you are. I don't care what sex you are. I don't care about none of that physical stuff. Because all those physical things are going to eventually fall by the wayside. The real you is going to live forever.
Hmm.
And the real you is nourished only by true love. And love in abundance is vibrating in the universe because we're all a vibration.
Hmm.
Please tap into it. Love yourself. Forgive yourself. Let it go. And remember that love covers a multitude of sins. That includes your faults, your shortcomings, all the things that you've done in your life that you may have regret. Let it go. You don't need to hang on to it anymore. We'll see you tomorrow, folks.
Bye
Bless you
bye.
and have a good evening. Bye bye.